Welcome back, everybody. And now I'd like to introduce you to my next guest, and that's Victoria Seaman. She's running for Senate in District 6 here in Nevada. Victoria is one of the smartest politicians I've met. As a matter of fact, if you look up intelligence and smart in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of Victoria. She's a very, very smart politician. So everybody give a warm welcome for Victoria Seaman. Victoria, I guess you get asked this question a lot. Why did you decide to become involved in politics and run for political office?
Well, I am a business owner. I spent most of my life running small businesses, and I felt like the people that were deciding about business, the economy and businesses had never signed the front of a paycheck. And I thought that we weren't represented well as small business owners. And sure enough, in the state of Nevada, only 23% of the legislature has ever signed the front of a paycheck. So I thought that this was something I could bring to legislature, a better understanding of what it takes to create jobs and what it takes to run small business, which is the bread and butter of our economy.
You've had one term in the Assembly. Why would you decide to run for the Senate?
Senate 6 is a very important seat for us as Republicans because we are one seat away from the majority. We held the majority this last session. And I am actually the only elected official in Senate 6. Senate 6 consists of Assembly District 34 and 37. I was elected to 34. Both 37 and the current incumbent of Senate 6 have both been appointed. I also was someone who promised the constituents I would stand by them with the gross receipts tax, and I voted against it, and both appointees voted for it, and I felt like the community really knew that I was representing them because we voted it down in Senate 6 80%. So maybe 3-1, we voted down the gross receipts tax. So I had a lot of people within the community that supported me and wanted me to run for the seat because I'd walked the district 3 times and really understood the issues of Senate 6.
There's been a lot of talk about corruption going on in Nevada politics. You recently sent out an email stating that your upcoming Senate race, that your opponent does not even reside in the district. Could you tell me a little bit more about that, or what's going on with some of the shenanigans and corruption that goes on here in Nevada politics?
Yes, so when I announced to run for Senate 6, the current incumbent who was appointed, Senator Liparelli, decided that he would not run for re-election. And an assemblyman out of Assembly District 5 is decided to abandon his constituents, resign his seat, and move over to a district that he doesn't currently reside in. The state of Nevada has a specific law in the NRS statutes that you must reside in the district that you represent in the state offices. So he has 30 days prior to filing to move over. Right now he is sitting as chair of the Energy Committee and doesn't want to give up that position. So he has decided to raise money and for Senate District 6 and move in at the last minute. And this is something that the constituents of Senate 6 is adamantly against. My opponent last election cycle, Megan Smith, has been indicted and will go to trial in January for not residing in the district that she actually ran in. She actually stated she, under perjury, that she had lived in the district 30 days prior, and we proved to a district court judge that she did not, filed a criminal complaint. And in the state of Nevada, the sad thing is that the NRS statutes allows disqualified candidates by a district court judge to be seated if they win. And this was actually one of the bills that I put forth in the last session, AB 177, to find a remedy for this so that when a candidate is disqualified, that they will not be able to be seated, and their votes won't count. And I also tried to change the law that you had to live in the district 1 year prior, but this was killed on the Senate floor, and I'm hoping to bring it forth the next session. But here we go again. We have a opponent that does not live in the district right at the moment, and there is no statute prohibiting him from raising money and moving in at the last minute. But I think the voters will have a chance to decide, if this is something that they agree with or not in June.
Could you let our audience know some of the things that you are passionate about, like election law, the economy, veterans, and seniors?
Well, as I stated earlier, I walked my district 3 times before I was elected, so I really got to know the issues of my district. And I live in a very diverse district. I live in one of the most affluent districts as well as the lowest income. So I have this very diverse district. And some of the issues that were really important to my constituents, besides, health, education, the economy, was the squatter issue. We had a lot of squatters in my district that brought forth a lot of crime. And again, this was something that for years, there was nothing for Metro to come in. There were no statutes and laws that Metro could come in and investigate this. It became a civil issue. So with all the foreclosures that we saw in the last couple of years, this created a big problem. So I primary sponsored a bill bipartisanly that gave Metro the authority to investigate squatters. And as of October 1st, they now have the authority to remedy this problem. So that was one of the highlights. The other thing that I think was really important was our seniors were being abused with the guardianship laws that we had in place. And so, again, I primary sponsored a bill that brought forth legislation to regulate this. It was one of the fields that really wasn't regulated, and not being a big fan of regulations, but the amount of seniors that were abused because there were no regulations was something that was really near and dear to my heart. And it also allows now children or relatives from out of state can now be appointed guardianship over their relatives, because we had a law in Nevada that prohibited anyone from outside the state of Nevada to come in and be appointed guardianship of their own family members. So this was a really important issue for me, and we got it passed through legislation, and it's now part of Nevada law. Another thing that I think as a whole that we did was the education savings account, which is going to be a great program, especially for those who cannot afford to go to charter private schools that are in areas where we have public schools that are not performing well. Now the parents can decide where they want their children to go, whether it be a private school, a charter school. They now have that opportunity with this education savings account. So there were quite a few things that I felt in this session that we did that are really going to bring Nevada. We're going to progress here in Nevada.
Thank you very much, Victoria. We appreciate that. Victoria Seaman, she's running for the state senate and District 6 here in Nevada, and she is the best bet to make sure we get things done in this state. Let's give Victoria a warm round of applause, everybody. We'd like to thank Senate candidate Victoria Seaman for coming on our show. She'd make a great state senator. Everybody make sure we all get out and vote, because if we don't elect people like Victoria Seaman, then we're not going to have the candidates that we need to move along in the way that we want to as conservatives here in the state of Nevada. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining in for another edition of the Jessie Turner Show. I'm your host, Jessie Turner, the man liberal spirit of most. Please join us again for another exciting, we hope, informative edition of the Jessie Turner Show.